Happy Sunday, everyone! I want to congratulate you all on completing the Fall Grand Ceremony for the Konko Church of Seattle. I was asked by Bobby Sensei to give a sermon today. I'd like to use this opportunity to talk with you all about Aiyokakeiyo and my relationships. First, for some background. My name's Bruno Lucarelli. I'm 25 years old. My father is Italian American and my mother is Filipino American. Currently, I live near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the United States, which is about 7 hours west of New York City by car. I work as a software engineer for Dick's Sporting Goods at their corporate office. Earlier in life, I was born and raised on the East Coast on the coast of New Jersey. Today, I'll briefly explain why I practice Konkokyo and about the concept of Aiyokakeiyo. Then, I'll mainly tell my story of how I learned the importance of applying Aiyokakeiyo in my relationships. First, let's talk about why I practice Konkokyo. I have been an adherent of Konkokyo since 2017. I wasn't born into the system, so many people are curious about why I make this my main spiritual practice. First and foremost, Konkokyo encourages me to cooperate with people of other spiritual backgrounds. Our founder's philosophy considers people equal in receiving blessings from Tenshi Kane no Kami, our parent deity. We also don't require that people convert to our belief system and abandon their own. There is no such concept for adherence, as there is an emphasis on helping people regardless of their background. For Americans in particular, a unique factor in Konkokyo is that there is no concept of punishment for transgressions. We seek a connection with the world, and to us, irreverences are actions that break or harm that connection. When we do something to harm that connection, Kami does not need to punish us. Kami only seeks to support us however possible. It's just up to us as to how we approach that journey. In addition, Konkokyo provides concepts that are spiritually enriching and simple to learn. We have simple concepts such as Aiyokakeiyo, mutual interdependence, Waga Kokoro, joyful and harmonious heart, and Shinjin, heart of Kami. We challenge ourselves to learn these concepts in order to change ourselves. To us, being content with the world means connecting with it. These principles provide us with a perspective that encourages us to learn more about the world around us, and to see it as a place for fulfillment and learning. Finally, the fundamental principle of Konkokyo is that we build a connection to Kami through the people and nature around us. The practice of otorotsugi, or mediation, involves adherents sharing with the mediator both their joys and their struggles in life. The mediator acts as a bridge between our parent deity, Tenshi Kane no Kami, and people. It's easier to make sense of things and make a connection with the universe when we have this type of regular interpersonal engagement. Today, in particular, I will talk about a principle of Konkokyo that is near and dear to my heart, Aiyokakeiyo. Aiyokakeiyo is the concept of establishing and nurturing relationships that are mutually beneficial for the parties involved. An early example would be two people carrying something up a hill. The shorter person is higher up, and the taller person is lower down on the hill, so that they can each carry closer to their center of balance. In Konkokyo, a common such relationship is that between Tenshi Kane no Kami, or Kami, and people. Kami is Kami because of man, and man is man because of Kami. This is a revelation from Kami to our founder, which indicates that helping people helps Kami as well somehow. This is a relationship more similar to a parent-child relationship. This has been a crucial concept to me and the one which I have focused the most on in my journey so far. I'd like to tell you all the story of how I developed my understanding of Aiyokakeiyo today. This journey begins by exploring my relationship with the world before I encountered Konkokyo. Earlier on, my relationships were definitely more narrow in nature. I had prior experiences with people of various beliefs and opinions in which I had been treated unfairly. As such, I lumped in others who shared those beliefs as being bad or complicit with my suffering. I was also quick to positively judge the character of people who shared my own beliefs without actually getting to know them, much less understand why they had those beliefs. Overall, I let my past experiences blind me to a private illusion where I knew the truth about the world and others were just ignorant. This seems to be a common thread in America today, where this type of thinking seeps into some of the deepest personal relationships. I didn't have any meaningful connection with this world. I didn't seek to benefit it, and I didn't understand what would even benefit me. I was stuck in place and felt entitled to others just needing to get on my level. Well, soon enough, I would have an awakening that would force me to challenge this way of thinking. I met Reverend Masato Kawahatsu and his wife, Alice, in mid-June of 2017 while I was doing a tech internship in the Bay Area. They were doing a purification ceremony for Japan Day at Japantown in San Francisco, and I just so happened to be visiting Japantown with some friends. I went to see Kawahatsu-sensei the following weekend to learn more about this Konkokyo, and not out of a deep desire, but really just out of curiosity. A bit into our conversation, though, he presented a perspective that I had never considered before. He said to me something like this: "Some people believe that heaven is above us and hell is below us. However, I think that there is goodness in all of this world around us. From up there, we receive the sun's light, and from down there, we receive nourishment and shelter. I'm grateful to both the sun and the earth for giving us all life." Soon after telling me this, he mentioned picking up trash on his morning walks as a form of service to the earth. He especially focused on cigarette butts, understanding that they'd hurt nature just as cigarettes hurt people. I didn't exactly feel moved on an emotional level. The change in me was more fundamental than that. I processed a new idea over the next couple of days. This man does more to connect to this world in a single morning than I have done in years of struggling with my assumptions about this world. That day, when Reverend Kawahatsu expressed his sincere relationship with the world, I developed a desire to understand this way of existing. He invited me to participate in his services and eventually to meet more of the Konkokyo. I obliged out of curiosity and fascination, wondering if others connected to the world in the same way that he did. Throughout the summer of 2017, a very memorable summer, I met more of the Bay Area's Konko community. I learned that each mediator or minister was very different. Each one had a pretty different approach to things, but they all worked together on the same goals. The believers, or adherents, were pretty varied in their temperaments and in their personal beliefs. Kawahatsu-sensei in particular had a congregation in South San Francisco. This was the most diverse group of people I'd ever encountered in a spiritual gathering, and to this day, that remains the case. They had significant differences in their ethnic and religious backgrounds. It seemed that because of this, not in spite of this, but again, because of this, they treated those around them both kindly and fairly. They asked questions, they listened patiently, they accepted, they respected, and most importantly, they shared. Each person here showed me that they had their own meaningful and harmonious relationship with this world and those around them. I could be nothing but thankful to them for this. My experiences in the Bay Area totally shattered my idea that relationships depended on people sharing the same truth. These people didn't usually see things from the same angle, but they all had meaningful relationships with one another and the world around them. I realized that there were more ways to approach relationships. I pursued experiences that would expand my perspective about Konkokyo. To me, Konkokyo represented a way of life where very different people could live in harmony. After returning to the East Coast from my experiences in the Bay Area, I pursued more opportunities to know more about this way of existing together. I soon attended the KCNA conference in 2018 and went to 2 sessions of the Faith Training Institute. In late 2019, I capped this off by going to Konko headquarters in Japan for a pilgrimage surrounding the 160th anniversary of the Divine Call. And yes, being in Japan for 2 weeks, trekking across the country with the Kawahatsus was quite the culture shock. Japanese people, though, were pretty accepting of the fact that I was still learning the culture. They lived their lives just as I would imagine anyone else would in a safe country. The Konkokyo, however, always stood out amongst the Japanese people I met. They accepted me kindly, and they patiently allowed me to observe and choose for myself where I stood. They asked questions, they respected, they accepted, and they shared. I found the same phenomenon from the Bay Area on the other side of the world. With Konkokyo, people could live in harmony with one another, even when meeting unfamiliar people in strange situations, which, as one could guess, were caused by me still learning about Japan. So, after my time in Japan and some contemplation, I asked for more guidance from both Reverend Kawahatsu and from our deity, Tenshi Kane no Kami, in following this way of Konkokyo. This way of life could flourish in many different places, and amongst different types of people. Focusing more on the path of Konkokyo would help me build a relationship with the world, This would particularly come together through the lens of Aiyokakeiyo, which is again mutual interdependence. But this wouldn't happen before I met hardships. The spring of 2020 marked the beginning of lots of personal and professional hardships. Better known to us all were the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting lockdowns. I soon lost my job. I practically hemorrhaged finances while unemployed to pay bills. I couldn't see my family or friends, and I couldn't explore the world anymore. 2 weeks became 4 weeks. Time went on this way, and the world kept changing. As I kept suffering loss after loss, I learned that many of the things people placed value in were unreliable. My money, my belongings, and where I lived could all change no matter what I did. The world would not change just to make me happy. I had to change myself. I had to take real steps forward to change how I lived. In order to change myself, I needed to understand how everyone else was struggling with the same situation. Oftentimes, I just listened to what people had to say, and showed understanding that they were just trying their best. In other instances, I would ask them about their lives or what they thought about things. Either way, they appreciated having their stories heard, and I learned a lot from them. Occasionally, I could also offer my skills, services, or experience to help them deal with things hands-on. I never charged for these services. Overall, I tried to understand others and exist alongside them in a way that was beneficial for us both. As the world changed, I now changed as well. From these experiences, I'd actually taken my first stride forward in understanding what it really means to practice Aiyokakeiyo. I'd learned the concept before, but I only internalized it after experiencing it for myself. Soon, I began to consciously incorporate Aiyokakeiyo into my understanding of relationships. Aiyokakeiyo, or mutual interdependence, is a concept that I strive to utilize in my relationships today. I'm still learning how this works in many different contexts. My foundation for learning Aiyokakeiyo has been practicing having a heart of kami, or shinjin as described before. That is, a heart that wants to help others and learn from them. Having a heart of kami helps me to see that there is some value in every person. I cannot immediately see the value in interacting with most people. However, that's because I can't see the future and what it could bring. Relationships can change with time, so I usually go with the flow and bring sincere intent with me. I also do my best to detach myself from my personal biases when I see a chance to overcome my boundaries and establish a genuine connection. Given the tense ideological climate in the United States today, people are starting to isolate themselves from one another, so this isn't easy. In regard to that, I also avoid forcing my perspective on others. When I force my perspective on someone just for the sake of changing their mind, all I do is remove their trust and our mutual understanding. This is an easy way to destroy a relationship, as many here might be aware. Finally, having a heart of kami helps me keep in mind that conflicts can just be setbacks. Someone might be having a bad day and they say some nasty things. Maybe I did something to upset the other person. Practicing a kami-like heart helps me see these situations as signs that we can improve things. Aiyokakeiyo also helps me understand my Konko practice better. Sometimes I believe that I am burdening kami with my constant requests and prayers. However, the founder has stated multiple times that this is like a child thinking of themselves as a burden on their parents. This understanding helps me infer that kami wants to help people, that kami is somehow positively changed by this relationship. This gives me the confidence to continue, even as I make mistakes and as I doubt myself during tough times. The founder received the revelation from kami that kami is kami because of man, and man is man because of kami. This can be applied to any of our relationships with this world, whether we know it or not. I am myself because of you, and you are yourself because of me. We all change through our relationships with others. I cannot understand kami completely, just as I cannot understand any of you completely. However, I do know that individuals can change through relationships. We can all change that way. I believe that kami wants us to build our relationships with kami and others just like that. These relationships can be mutually fulfilling and constantly evolving. You have time. Taking time is an expectation, it's not a luxury. Ikigami Konko Daijin, originally Bunjiro Kawate, took a while too. He spent his whole life forming these relationships, growing them and nurturing them, including and especially his relationship with Tenchi Kane no Kami. And in the end, only you can really decide the pace at which you work through these things. That's the end of what I have to say. Thank you all for listening. I hope that you have a better understanding of Aiyokakeiyo now. It's worth considering how you could apply it in relationships that you already have, whether that's with others, with nature, or with Kami. It's been an honor to be allowed to talk at the ceremony. Again, thank you. I pray to Ikigami Konko Daijin and Tenchi Kane no Kami that my story helps someone understand this world just a bit better.
Thank you again for listening to my sermon. Again, my name is Bruno Lucarelli, and I look forward to seeing you one day.